For my 35th birthday, I booked a paintball field. Only the instructor showed. 5 days later, the family chat blew up. Lakeside bash for Kyle. $1,000 each. Don't be cheap. No mention of my day. I replied, sounds cool, then drained the emergency fund. The next morning, my uncle called me selfish, so I sent him the ledger. They say turning 35 doesn't matter much, but it did to me. My name's Ryan. I'm 35 years old, living in Allentown, Pennsylvania. I've been a civil engineer for over a decade now, and if you asked anyone in my family, they'd probably describe me as the reliable one. That's just code for the guy we call when we need something. So for my birthday this year, I decided to do something low-key but fun, paintball. It wasn't flashy, just a casual afternoon at a local field with some gear rentals, burgers, and drinks afterward. I sent out invites to my immediate family, my parents, my younger brother Kyle, a couple cousins, even my old college buddy James who still lives nearby. Nothing dramatic, just a short group text with the details, and a quiet hope that someone might actually show up. The morning of, I got to the paintball field early. I was weirdly excited, like a kid again. I laid out the gear on the rental table, checked the bookings, paid the deposit. The staff even let me pick the best side of the field. I kept glancing at my phone, expecting texts like, hey, running late, or be there in 10. Instead, there was nothing. Not a single message. Not a single person showed up. At first, I tried to brush it off. Maybe they were stuck in traffic. Maybe someone was organizing a surprise. But after 30 minutes, the field staff started giving me pitying looks, and the silence became deafening. I stood there staring at 12 paintball guns lined up like little soldiers waiting for a battle that was never going to happen. Eventually, I packed everything back into the bins. I took one photo of the empty gear table, just to remember, I guess. Or maybe to prove it happened. The bright yellow and blue gear sat untouched under the overcast sky. I didn't even send it to anyone. I went home, sat on the couch, ate a burger alone that I had planned to grill for the group. I didn't even light the candles on the cake I bought. There was no anger, just that dull, familiar ache. The kind you get when you realize people show up for you when they need something, but not when you need them. I didn't post about it. Didn't complain. I just went to bed early that night, feeling like wallpaper in my own life. Not because no one came, but because no one even remembered. That was the part that hurt. 3 days later, my phone buzzed nonstop. The family group chat was on fire. It started with a message from my mom. Okay, folks, Kyle's big 30 is coming up. Let's make it unforgettable. That was followed by a flood of links. Airbnb cabins, boat rental companies, a list of fun but classy lake games. Someone even suggested personalized towels with Kyle's name embroidered. The enthusiasm was overwhelming. I sat on the edge of my bed, scrolling through it all in silence. Kyle's big 30. Not just a birthday, a milestone, according to my aunt. Everyone was pitching in. Venmo screenshots flying back and forth. Contributions for decor, drinks, food, fireworks. My cousin Rachel was handling the itinerary. Liam was bringing sound equipment. Even Uncle Jeff, who rarely leaves his recliner, chimed in with, I can drive the van if we rent one. And me? No mention of me. No, sorry we missed yours. No, let's celebrate both of you. Not even a late, happy birthday, Ryan. Nothing. Just plans for Kyle. The golden boy. Kyle, who's always been the center of attention, whether he earned it or not. He's got that charm, that loud, reckless, big smile energy that people somehow mistake for charisma. He never paid back the student loans Dad co-signed. He crashed 2 cars, lost 3 jobs in 4 years. And every time he messed up, the family swooped in like he was some fragile little miracle that just needed one more chance. I can't count how many times I've quietly pulled strings behind the scenes. When Kyle couldn't afford rent 2 summers ago, I slipped a check to my parents, told them not to mention it. When his car broke down last winter, I covered the repairs, told Kyle it was a gift. I was the one who built the joint emergency fund that kept this family afloat when things got tight. That fund, God, I logged into the account out of habit. I'd been the main contributor for years, putting in a couple hundred each month without fail. Kyle? Maybe once every 6 months, if that. Everyone acted like it was this magical cushion that existed on good intentions, but it wasn't. It was me. And right there in the transaction history, I saw it again. $600 withdrawal, emergency, Kyle's overdraft. No heads up. No thank you. Just another quiet disappearance from the account. Same as always. I sat there staring at the screen while the group chat lit up with more excitement. OMG, Kyle will love this. He deserves something nice for once. For once. I didn't even bother typing a response. I just stared at that sentence like it was a bad joke. For once? They had no idea. That's when it really clicked. It wasn't that they forgot my birthday. They didn't forget. They just didn't think it mattered. I wasn't Kyle. I wasn't a milestone. I was a foundation. And everyone just walked all over me. I typed it out slowly. Sounds amazing. That's all I wrote in the group chat. No punctuation. No emojis. Not a hint of sarcasm. They probably read it and thought, oh good, Ryan's in. That was fine. Let them think what they wanted. Then I logged out of the chat and opened the emergency fund. It had just over $4,200 in it. My money, mostly. The others had chipped in here and there, sure, but I was the one who'd kept it alive. I was the reason the account didn't bounce every time someone's car broke down or a surprise vet bill hit. I stared at the balance for a while, the way you look at something that used to feel sacred but now just feels sad. Then, without hesitation, I opened a new savings account. Labeled it private. Transferred every last dollar over. Done. I didn't touch the money. I didn't spend a cent. I just locked the door. It felt like putting a fence around something that had been slowly eroding for years. Like, no more coming in and out as you please. No more treating me like the invisible sponsor of every crisis. They didn't notice. Of course they didn't. The group chat kept humming along, oblivious. Someone suggested matching shirts for the lake trip. Another person offered to bring lawn games. Mom was coordinating meals and room pairings like it was a wedding. I watched it all unfold from a distance. Quietly. Like a guy peering through a window at a party he helped pay for, but wasn't really invited to. Then came the call. It was around 10 the next morning. Uncle Jeff. His voice hit my ears before I could even say hello. Ryan, what the hell is going on? I pulled the phone away slightly. Morning, Jeff. Don't morning me, he snapped. The emergency account's empty. Dana just tried to pull a few hundred for the rental deposit and it bounced. You moved the money. I did, I said calmly. Silence. Then, you can't just do that. That accounts for the family. I leaned against the kitchen counter. I am family. You're being selfish, he barked. Selfish. That word hit like a slap. I almost laughed. Right. After years of covering everyone else's mess, now I'm selfish? Don't play the martyr, Ryan, he growled. You're punishing everyone just because you're bitter about your birthday or something? I didn't say anything. I just stared out the window, watching the neighbor's dog dig a hole under the fence for the third time this week. Jeff kept talking. Accusing. Demanding. But I'd stopped listening. Because for once, I wasn't trying to explain myself. I was just done. I didn't hear from my mom until that evening. She showed up without warning, let herself into my apartment like she always did back when I used to think that was normal. I was in the kitchen rinsing dishes when I heard the door open and shut. Ryan, she said sharply. We need to talk. I dried my hands and turned around. Didn't know you were stopping by. I didn't come for small talk. Her purse hit the table like a gavel. What you did was completely out of line. I leaned against the counter. Which part? She narrowed her eyes. The account. The way you blindsided everyone. You humiliated this family. That made me blink. Humiliated? I didn't say a word to anyone. I just moved my money. You didn't have to say anything, she snapped. People are talking. Jeff's furious. Dana's upset. Kyle's confused. Of course Kyle was confused. When was he not? I crossed my arms. Let me ask you something, Mom. When's the last time Kyle put money into that account? She faltered. That's not the point. It is exactly the point. My voice rose for the first time. I've been carrying this family's emergencies on my back for years. Quietly. No complaints. Just like you liked it. You're twisting things. No, I'm finally untwisting them, I said. I paid for Kyle's rent after he got fired from that bartending job. I covered Rachel's medical bill when she didn't have insurance. I funded Liam's brakes, your roof repair, and Dad's prescription last winter. Her mouth was tight. We never asked. You didn't have to. I laughed bitterly. It's just been assumed that I'd handle it. That Ryan's stable. Ryan doesn't need anything. She looked away, arms crossed now. Kyle's birthday is different. It's his 30th. It's a milestone. Right? I said. So is 35. But when I stood at that paintball field alone, you weren't planning any milestones. You weren't even texting. That's not fair. It's honest. She stared at me for a moment, then her voice softened just enough to sting. You sound just like your father when he used to pout. I flinched. That line wasn't new. It had been her way of shutting me down since I was a teenager. You're acting like him, she'd say. So dramatic. So wounded. But this time, it didn't land the same way. You mean the man you barely speak to, but still blame for everything? I asked. Don't bring him into this. Why not? I said. You've been comparing me to him my whole life. Like it's a crime to ask for something back. She exhaled loudly, frustrated. So what? You're going to punish us now? Just throw away your family. I shook my head. I'm not punishing anyone. I'm just protecting myself. For once. A beat passed. Then she said quietly, I always thought you liked being the dependable one. I met her eyes. I didn't. I just didn't know I was allowed to stop. She didn't respond. Just grabbed her purse, shook her head, and walked out. No hug. No apology. No understanding. Just the same silence I've been getting for years. But this time, it didn't feel like I lost something. It felt like I finally called it by its name. Kyle's text came in around noon. Hey bro, can you send over $1,000 for my share of the cabin? Rachel already paid the deposit and Aunt Dana says we need to settle up by Friday. Appreciate you. No mention of the account. No question about how I was doing. Not even a belated happy birthday. Just another bill, sent with a smile. 10 minutes later, Aunt Dana followed up with her usual cheeriness, laced in passive aggression. Hey sweetheart, don't forget the Airbnb balance. We're counting on everyone. Would hate to jeopardize the reservation. I stared at my phone, jaw clenched so tight it hurt. These people really thought I'd just come crawling back. That I'd see their panic and throw cash at it, like always. Instead, I opened my laptop. I spent the next 4 hours combing through emails, bank statements, Venmo receipts, and text threads. Not out of spite, out of clarity. Out of the need to remember. To make them remember. I titled the document. For reference, 2015 to 2025. Inside were 9 full pages. Every rent payment I'd covered for Kyle. Every emergency fund withdrawal. Photos of checks I'd written for mom and dad's furnace repair. A chart showing that 82% of the shared emergency fund had come from me. I even included screenshots of group messages where people joked about me being the family bank. At the end, I added one sentence in bold. You don't get to shame someone for withdrawing what they never should have been expected to give in the first place. Then I converted the file to PDF. No subject line. No message. I BCC'd every family member. I hit send. And waited. The first response came in under a minute. Aunt Dana. Wow, that was unnecessary. Then, Rachel. Ryan. I didn't realize how much you've done. I'm sorry. Liam. Dude. Damn. My phone started buzzing. Calls. Texts. Missed calls. A flood. Mom. We don't air dirty laundry like this. It's cruel. Kyle. Really? You made a report like I'm a charity case? That's low, man. Uncle Jeff. What exactly are you trying to prove here? But the one that stood out the most was silence. Dad didn't say a word. Neither did Emily. Neither did my cousins who'd quietly benefited for years. The silence from some quarters screamed louder than the outrage. It wasn't about the money anymore. It was never about the money. It was about the pattern. The expectation that I would give and give and give while pretending it wasn't killing me. This wasn't revenge. It was evidence. Proof that I had been there. That I had mattered, even when they acted like I didn't. I closed my laptop, turned my phone face down, and took a long breath. For the first time in years, they couldn't pretend they didn't know. Now they had to look. There was a knock at my door the next morning. Not a frantic one. Just 3 quick taps, like he'd practiced it. I knew it was Kyle before I even looked through the peephole. I opened the door, and there he was, holding 2 iced coffees and wearing that same easy grin he always used when he wanted to smooth something over. Figured you'd still like hazelnut, he said, holding one out like a peace offering. I took it but didn't invite him in. He shifted his weight, peeking over my shoulder into the apartment. You've been quiet. I raised an eyebrow. Didn't realize that was a problem. He gave a small, forced laugh. Come on, man. The email, the PDF thing, it kind of blew up. Yeah, I said. That was the point. He scratched the back of his neck, the grin faltering a little. Look, I didn't mean to forget your birthday. I honestly didn't know it passed until someone mentioned it in the group yesterday. I just sipped the coffee. It wasn't personal, he added quickly. You know I've got a lot going on. Work's been brutal. And with planning the trip, Stop, I said quietly. Don't do that. Do what? Turn forgetting me into something you were too busy for. He looked stung, like the thought had never occurred to him that it wasn't about the birthday at all. You always had everything handled, he mumbled. I figured, you didn't need much. That right there. That sentence. I didn't need much. That's how they all justified it. Their absence, their silence, the one-sided generosity. Ryan's fine. Ryan doesn't ask for anything. He stood there awkwardly, searching for something else to say. I really am sorry, he finally said, softer now. I nodded once. I know. We stood like that for a second too long. Then I stepped back and gently closed the door. Not with rage. Not with hate. Just peace. He didn't knock again. I set the coffee down and stared at it for a while. It wasn't an apology, not really. It was a gesture. A habit. Like buying time before he slid back into the same old rhythm. But I wasn't in that rhythm anymore. Kyle was still Kyle. And me? I was finally someone else. The lake cabin had always been the place. Family reunions, summer BBQs, 4th of July fireworks, engagement parties, even Kyle's high school graduation weekend. Everyone called it the family cabin, like it was a shared inheritance. But it wasn't. It was mine. They forgot that part, or maybe just ignored it. The truth was, 10 years ago, when my parents were on the verge of foreclosure, I quietly paid off the second mortgage on their house and bought the cabin outright from the bank when it went into short sale. It was going to be sold, and I couldn't bear to lose it. I fixed the plumbing, paid for the roof, installed central air, I even let everyone use it whenever they wanted, free of charge. No one ever asked me if they could host something there. They just told me when. After the PDF, after the silence and the angry text and Kyle's coffee visit, I drove out to the cabin. Just me and a thermos of black coffee, early in the morning. The lake was still, a sheet of glass that hadn't been touched yet by wind or wake. The air smelled like wet pine and forgotten memories. I walked through the cabin slowly. The creaky floors, the dented porch railing, the faded photos still tacked to the fridge. Most of them didn't even have me in them. I sat at the old kitchen table, pulled out my laptop, and typed up a single-page notice. Effective immediately, the Turner Lake cabin is closed to all family members and guests until further notice. Unauthorized use will be considered trespassing. For questions or concerns, contact the owner. Then I printed it, laminated it, and drove into town to have the locks changed. That afternoon, I nailed the notice to the front door. By sundown, my phone was buzzing nonstop. Mom, Ryan, what's going on with the cabin? Liam said the key code isn't working. Aunt Dana, please don't do this. We've already sent out invites for Kyle's party. Kyle, seriously? You're kicking us out over a birthday? No one asked why. No one said, we didn't realize it was yours. They just panicked, because their free weekend home, their backdrop for happy photos and easy memories, had been taken away. But here's the truth. It was never theirs to begin with. They assumed they had access because they always had. They thought kindness was a given, that I was a faucet you could run until the water ran dry, and even then, bang on the pipes until I coughed up one last drop. But now the pipes were off. For once, I wasn't explaining myself. I wasn't offering backup plans or soft landings. I was done being invisible in the one place I'd built with my own hands. Let them yell. Let them call it dramatic or selfish. Let them realize that the hearth they loved so much never burned without me. The next morning, I woke up to something unexpected. A message from Rachel. Hey, just wanted to say I read the PDF twice. I'm sorry I never noticed how much you were doing. That's on me. If you ever need help with anything, seriously, please let me know. Then Liam followed. I wasn't part of all that mess, but I benefited from it. You deserve better. If you ever want help dealing with logistics for the cabin or anything else, I'm happy to pitch in. They weren't dramatic. They didn't beg. Just quiet acknowledgments from two people who'd never really picked sides before. It wasn't redemption, but it was something. Then, late that night, my phone rang. Dad. I let it ring almost to voicemail before answering. His voice, when it came, was softer than I expected. Hey, son. I didn't say anything right away. Just waited. I got your email, the document. More silence. Then he cleared his throat. I guess I always assumed you were okay. You never asked for anything. You never complained. I could almost hear the years packed into that one word, complained. Like it would have been weakness if I had. You were steady, he continued. So I figured, if anyone could handle being leaned on, it was you. I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the floor. I didn't handle it, I finally said. I just buried it. He exhaled. I get that now. Another pause. I'm not asking you to forgive anyone. Hell, I'm not even sure I'd forgive us. I just wanted to say I saw it. All of it. You weren't crazy. That part stuck with me. You weren't crazy. I didn't reply right away. Just nodded, even though he couldn't see it. Thanks, I said quietly. It wasn't a hallmark moment. He didn't beg. I didn't cry. It was just honest. And for once, honesty was enough. After we hung up, I sat in the dark for a while. The apartment was quiet. No buzzing group chats. No guilt trip voicemails. Just me, the hum of the fridge, and a kind of stillness I wasn't used to. A few people had finally seen me. Not for what I gave or what I solved, but for who I was. That mattered. But it didn't change my decision. I wasn't going back. I wasn't rejoining the group text or showing up at the lake like nothing happened. The shift had already begun. And this time, I wasn't moving backward. The lake house sold faster than I expected. A quiet couple from Vermont made an offer the same week it went on the market. They said it felt peaceful. I smiled and told them they had no idea how rare that peace really was. I didn't keep much. Just a few boxes of books, some tools, a dented thermos from the cabin, and one photo, an old Polaroid from summer camp. I was maybe 10, sitting by a fire, holding a book in my lap while the other kids laughed behind me. I wasn't in the circle. I wasn't invited. But I looked content. Or maybe I just learned how to fake it early. That photo went in my backpack. I moved to Flagstaff, Arizona. I'd never been, but something about the quiet pine forests and high altitude felt like a full reset. I took a job with a small engineering firm. Less pay, but less chaos. I rented a modest house at the edge of town. Clean air, space, silence, and no one asking me for anything. The money from the cabin sale sat untouched for a week. Then I made a series of donations to local education nonprofits, mental health services, housing aid. Every check came with a tiny note. For the ones who give quietly and get nothing in return. I didn't sign my name. Months passed. I got used to the quiet. I started sleeping through the night, cooking actual meals, talking to my neighbors about nothing important. For the first time in my adult life, I felt like a person instead of a pressure valve. And then, on my 36th birthday, something strange happened. I came home to a dark house, like always. But when I opened the door, the lights flicked on. Surprise! 3 voices shouted in awkward unison. It was my coworkers, Melissa from accounting, Devin from the field team, and Annie, the admin who remembered everyone's birthdays. A cheap banner hung from the kitchen doorway. A chocolate cake sat on the counter, lopsided but honest. Devin handed me a wrapped bowling pin. Found it at a thrift store. Thought it looked like you. Melissa grinned. We booked lanes for tonight. Nothing fancy, but figured it'd be better than you eating microwave pasta alone. I stood there frozen, half laughing, half stunned. And then Annie said something that lodged deep in my chest. I made sure to mark it in my calendar this time. No guilt. No obligation. Just people, choosing to show up. We bowled terribly. The pizza was burnt. Someone spilled a soda on my shoe. It was perfect. Later that night, after I thanked them and turned off the lights, I sat on the couch with that old Polaroid in my hand. And for once, I didn't feel like that kid by the fire anymore. I was still quiet, still steady. But now I was seen. And I wasn't alone.